lesson 2.1, we're going to go ahead and investigate number 8, part A from this lesson. Please make sure that you do have your book out in front of you, and we are going to go ahead and take a look at this problem. Number 8 reads, assume that we're only interested in couples with taxable incomes between $18,150 and $73,800. We want to write an equation that will take taxable income, and we're going to denote this as variable x, and compute the tax that they owe, which we are going to denote as t. So when you are working with this problem, it's really imperative that you kind of write on the side what each of your variables means. So x is going to represent taxable income. And we use a variable here because not everyone has the same amount of taxable income. It really will depend on the person's job, how much their take-home pay is, and whatnot. And then we will also, since their taxable income changes, that means that the tax that they will actually pay will also vary. Okay? So if you recall from the initial problem from the earlier portion of the lesson, we're going to go ahead and we're going to work with that second table that's located on the second page of the lesson. So the table that you used for number 3. So we know in this case that we are working with taxable incomes, so that are somewhere in between $18,150 and $73,800. So note that I am using a compound inequality to describe it. So again, we didn't actually get too far into the lesson, and we're already using or building on the skill set that we had discussed earlier in a previous video. So if you recall, if you go back to that table, if we have income that is in between $18,150 and $73,800, we basically have to tax in the following. So we would pay $1,815 plus 15% of the excess over $18,150. Okay. Believe it or not, this is enough information in order for us to create an equation. So note that in this case, our final outcome is going to be the amount of tax. So our equation is going to result in t equals something. So in order for us to actually come up with this, well, we can refer to that line in the table that we were just discussing. We know that anyone who has a taxable income that is in between these two dollar amounts, they automatically have to pay $1,815, okay? So we know for sure that they pay that right off the bat. So I'm noting this part of the line that I have boxed in there. One of the other things that you need to note is that now I'm going to do 15% of the excess over $18,150. And here's where it gets tricky, because if you're kind of sitting there thinking about it, you would say, well, previously in the video you had mentioned that not everyone is going to have the same taxable income. There's no way for me to actually compute a number for you in this case. And if you're thinking that, then you are definitely on the right track. I don't know what my taxable income is because it's going to vary from person to person that I speak with. But I do know that I can figure out the excess. So let's just look at this portion here. So I know that I need to find the excess that is over $18,150. So I know that my value is going to be somewhere in between what I have circled in green. So I'm actually going to say my excess in this case is going to be x minus that $18,150. Okay. So think about it from your previous work in number 3. You actually did the same thing. The only difference was instead of knowing the taxable income that that couple was working with, now you have that mystery. So you're just going to say, no matter what, whatever your taxable income is, so long as it falls within the values on the compound inequality, I can use that. So here is the excess. basically, you are saying your excess is going to be your taxable income. You just need to tell me that depending on who you are. And I'm going to subtract $18,150 from it to see how far over you are. Well, then we can finish off the rest of that statement. Notice that it says 15% of the excess. So if you recall, we had mentioned the word of in a previous video. What does of mean in mathematics? Specifically, it means a specific operation. And when I say operation, I'm kind of saying addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. Of is tied to one of those operations. And if you're thinking about it, of actually means multiplication, and I'm going to indicate that as a dot. I try to refrain from using x as my multiplication symbol because now that I'm working with variables, it's very easy to get the variable and the operation confused. So I'm going to start using a dot instead now. So 15%, we're going to go ahead and change that percentage into a decimal. And I'm actually almost done. Let's read that line that I have boxed in pink one more time. I have $1,815. I have to pay that, plus. So I really need to just put a plus sign in there. So $18,815 plus 15% of the excess over $18,150. So if you kind of think about it, the line from that table told you exactly what you needed to say here. So here, this number, since it's a constant, just drops down. Plus, we changed it into its mathematical symbol. 15%, you've probably found from experience that anytime you work with a percent, you have to convert it into a decimal. Of means multiplication, and then the excess over $18,150 is noted in that subtraction. So here is your final equation, and I'm just going to rewrite it in one color below. Your tax that you're going to pay is going to be equal to $1,815 plus 15% times the excess, or this quantity, of X, whatever your taxable income is, minus $18,150. Here is your final equation. I hope that was helpful. If you do have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me for help.